Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Hendrick. I'm the Director of Alumni Engagement at CSUB. It's so great to see all of you, even if it's virtually over Zoom. It's so wonderful to see such a great turnout today. A special hello to all of our students out there. So thank you for joining us. This is our 7th annual Alumni Rising Runner Award Ceremony and Discussion Panel. It's our first virtual one. We did a separate event with each of our 4 academic schools and also one with our Antelope Valley campus on Monday. So it's been a really fun homecoming at home week. We created this event in collaboration with Student Affairs. And the idea is that we wanted to recognize and celebrate recent alumni, those who have graduated within the last 10 years and are already excelling in their careers, so that they can come back and share their secrets of success with students. Who better for our students to learn from than people who were in their shoes just a few short years ago? Each dean of CSUB's 4 academic schools, as well as the dean of CSUB Antelope Valley, chooses an alumni rising runner in consultation with faculty. Today's is our 5th event of the week, and we will honor and recognize a rising runner from the School of Social Sciences and Education. But before we get into the program, I'm really excited to have a distinguished guest with us this afternoon, and we're going to hear some video remarks from her in a second, but she's here live. So I would like to ask President Lynette Zalesny if she would like to say a hello to everyone.
Well, Sarah, thanks so much. It's such a joy to be with all of you this afternoon. And of course, I'm very, very proud of this rising runner. And I wanted to be here in person to cheer him on. I want to thank also the School of Social Science and Education, to the leadership of Dean Rodriguez. This is really a special event, and I'm so very proud of all of our rising runners. And you shine bright, and you put CSUB on the map. So go runners.
Thank you so much, President Zalesny. And she also has a beautiful message for homecoming week, and we definitely want to share that with you. So we'd like to share a video message from the president as well.
A warm hello to our students, faculty, staff, alumni, and friends, and welcome home, runners. Though we cannot be in the same place today as we celebrate 5 outstanding rising runners, make no mistake, we are together. For CSUB is not just a physical location. CSUB is a feeling. CSUB is family. CSUB is connection. CSUB is a sense of belonging. CSUB is home. As Maya Angelou once said, the ache for home lives in all of us. At CSUB, we focus on helping our students use their gifts and talents to build a road to their future, which will take them out into the world to serve their families, neighbors, and communities. But just as that road leads them away from the university, it also leads our alumni back. This week, we celebrate that return in spirit, if not in body. And we welcome our runners back into the warm embrace of our extended family. The 5 amazing alumni we are celebrating this week are called Rising Runners for a reason. They are climbing a ladder of success, and as they climb, they lift others along with them. Each school will celebrate its own rising runner at separate occasions this week. But I want to recognize each of our rising runners before the entire CSUB community. The Antelope Valley campus recognizes rising runner Serena Muhammad, who received her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Management in 2015 and Master of Business Administration in 2017. Serena is giving back by serving as a business service representative for Goodwill, Southern California. The School of Arts and Humanities recognizes rising runner Dr. Jamal Wright, who earned his Bachelor of Arts in History in 2015, Master of Arts in History in 2017, and Doctorate in Educational Leadership in 2020. Dr. Wright is an associate professor of history at Bakersfield College. The School of Business and Public Administration recognizes rising runner Bailey Cook, who received her Bachelor of Science in Business Administration in 2018. Bailey is a subcontract specialist for Northrop Grumman. The School of Natural Sciences, Mathematics, and Engineering recognizes rising runner Dr. Nick Toothman, who earned his Bachelor of Science in Computer Science in 2010. Nick went on to earn his doctorate in computer science from UC Davis in 2020. Dr. Toothman is an assistant professor right here at CSUB. The School of Social Sciences and Education recognizes rising runner Alex Dominguez, who earned a Bachelor of Arts in Political Science in 2017. Alex received his Juris Doctorate from the University of Mississippi Law School in 2020 and is an associate attorney here in Bakersfield for Klein, DiNatelli, and Goldner. Thank you, rising runners, for sharing your knowledge, your talents, and your light with the communities you serve. Add a special note of gratitude to the faculty and staff who helped you discover the magic within you. Here's to you, runners, and here's to never forgetting your way back home. Congratulations.
Thank you again, President Zalesny, for always supporting this event. I know if we were in person, you would be personally walking around asking students, encouraging them to ask questions. So we appreciate you being here today. Now I'd like to introduce Dr. James Rodriguez, Dean of the School of Social Sciences and Education. For those who have not had a chance to meet Dean Rodriguez in person, I think you will find he is engaging and energetic, even if his tenure has been primarily as a Hollywood square since he started at CSUB earlier this academic year. Dean Rodriguez hails from Cal State Fullerton, go Titans, where he taught child and adolescent studies, among many other roles, such as the chair for Chicano Studies and AVP for institutional research. Please help me welcome Dean Rodriguez to his first Alumni Rising Runner event. Dr. Rodriguez, the Zoom screen is yours.
Thank you, Sarah. It's such a pleasure to be able to spend a part of this afternoon with all of you. I appreciate that Dr. Zalesny took a few minutes out of her busy schedule to be with us this afternoon. I also want to welcome all of our students, faculty, staff, guests, and friends of Alex. I see that we have a fairly large crowd joining us today, and I think it's a tribute to Alex's standing not only as an Alumni Rising Runner, but also in regard to his standing in the community. And so without further ado, I'd like to introduce Assistant Vice President for Student Success, Elaria Pesco, who will introduce Alex. But before I hand it over to you, Elaria, I want to say, Alex, congratulations again. It was a pleasure meeting you on our previous Zoom call, and I look forward to getting to meet you in person very soon, and also to working with you as we come together for future opportunities to support the work of the university, ultimately serving our students and the communities of the region. Elaria, the Zoom is yours.
Thank you, Dean Rodriguez. It's my pleasure to tell you all a little bit about Alex Dominguez, the rising runner we celebrate today. Alex Dominguez practices water law at the Bakersfield firm Klein, DiNatelli, Goldner, an interest he developed while working as a field representative for the Valley's Republican Congressman David Valledale, and later as a legal intern for the wonderful company. Anyone looking for an interesting legal disputes and long-term employment will find both in Kern County water world. Alex grew up in Bakersfield, graduated from Centennial High School, and enrolled at Bakersfield College, expecting to study business. During his second year, he discovered an interest in political science, and that interest grew. While at BC, Alex interned for Kern County Supervisor Mike Maggard. Make sure students, you ask him how he got that job, and then he worked for Valledale. He was also elected to the BC Student Body President, which he led a year serving also on the Kern Community College District Board. Alex earned his AA in 2015 and transferred to CSUB, where he earned his bachelor's degree in political science in 2017. During his CSUB years, Alex worked for the governmental affairs firm Yankee Communications, giving him a chance to learn about politics from the private business sector side. He was also ASI President during the 2016-2017 academic year, which also happened to be my first year here at CSUB. Under his leadership, Alex launched the ASI Scholarship, which the Board of Directors has still continued to this day. And because of his legacy, this spring, we were able to award 50 $500 scholarships to students. After graduating from CSUB, Alex went off to the University of Mississippi to study law and earned his law degree in 2020. Also, be sure to ask him how he decided to go away to school and also why he came back, and also what it was like to be one of the very few people who were to graduate during the pandemic. I nominated Alex for this award because he is a testament to what CSUB education can do for you. He was academically prepared for the rigorous coursework at Ole Miss Law School, but yet his passion for public service and giving back brought him home. Over the course of my 25-year career in student affairs, there's always a handful of students who have the intelligence, ability, and drive to succeed, and Alex is one of those students. The Alumni Association is lucky to have Alex as a part of the Runner alumni family, and they'll be sending him a plaque and other tokens of congratulations for being named the Alumni Rising Runner. Alex, the Zoom screen is yours to say a few words. Congratulations.
Elaria, thank you. President Zelenzi, Dean Rodriguez, and to the entire Alumni Association and the selection committee, thank you. This recognition is not solely a reflection of my success, but really the success of everyone who has supported me, mentored me, and uplifted me each step of the way. And many of those are here today. It was the discussions and debates in Dr. Martinez's class, the research skills I learned from Dr. Craybill, and the ethics and leadership lessons that I got, on a regular basis from Elaria and Dr. Wallace. Really, there's just so many people who open doors for you along the way. And when you get on this path, it's easy to forget. It's easy to get carried away with everything that's going on, with the hustle and bustle, that you forget about everyone who's really supporting you behind the scenes. And it's really days like this that it's good to look back and not necessarily reflect on my success and what I've done, but really appreciate everyone who has helped me along the way. So thank you to everyone. Thank you for your support, your guidance. Thank you for CSUB for being such an influential part of my journey. I wouldn't have gone to Ole Miss. I wouldn't be the attorney that I am today without my time at CSUB. So thank you. I know the good part is asking the questions, so I think we should just get right to it.
All right, thank you, Alex. My name is Mark Martinez, and I'm the Department Chair of Political Science. And so I'll be asking a few questions. I want to congratulate Alex again. But just so you know, if you want to raise your hand, someone's going to be running the program, running the board, or you can send a message to Mary Coder, and that's Mary, M-E-R-R-Y, and she'll forward the message to me. But so let's jump right into it. Alex, one thing you might have told your former self as a student when you were transitioning from school to your career now, what kind of advice would you be giving yourself today?
Hands down, to play more golf.
All right.
But really, I think my motto, and you can ask my friend and my fiance now, it's always been, work hard for today so we'll have a better tomorrow. And that's always been my motto, and that's always what's pushing me. The problem is that I don't think that, at least during school, and even now in my early career, that I've really taken time to appreciate the, tomorrows that actually come up. It's just a constant drive. And so, you know, I joke about playing golf, but it's really about setting up those small tomorrows for yourself to say, hey, I've worked towards this goal. Yeah, you know, I've you know, worked really hard. I've pushed myself. Now is a time to, you know, reward myself, to slow down a little bit and to go out, you know, to play golf, to enjoy time with friends. You know, again, I think that that's just been, you know, something that was just drilled into my head. You know, when I was young, my parents, you know, they're high school educated, they're hard workers, and that's always been what they've taught me. You know, you just need to go out there, you need to work hard and just keep working hard. You know, I don't see my parents, you know, take too many days off. So it's never really been in my nature to do that either. But I think that those days off are important. So really, you know, enjoy school. I wish I would have enjoyed law school a little bit more, but you know, you get in the routine of things. You get in the routine of CSUB, and you know, it just becomes one of those things where, you know, it sounds cheesy. I know that I've had plenty of people tell me that, you know, like, oh, you know, you're gonna miss the good old days, and but you know, absolutely. I mean, I miss Oxford. I miss CSUB. I miss, you know, being in your class and arguing with you and other students about issues. So, you know, I think it's really kind of about slowing down and appreciating the moment.
Well, now you're an attorney. You're a big shot in the community, a bigger shot than you were when you were here a few years back. How did you know that becoming an attorney was your career path? And then how did you get there? Tell us a little bit about the internship. So first off, how did you know becoming an attorney was what you wanted to do? And how did you get there with the internships?
So, so yeah, I guess it's kind of a two-part one. I'll answer the first question first. So when I was an intern for Supervisor Maggard, you know, the first couple of weeks of that, maybe the first couple of months was, you know, your basic intern work, you know, filing documents, reviewing some stuff, providing it to the chief or the other field representatives in the office. But as I, you know, built up rapport in the office, I started getting a little bit more substantive projects. And one of them was a constituent project. A homeowner had called. He had some issue. He had some sort of electrical box, a utility box, something like that, right in front of his property, and it was right in front of his driveway. And he called our office, because he was one of our constituents, and wanted to know how he could get the box either removed or, you know, a smaller box, one that's just in the ground. He said he'd been calling everybody and couldn't get any traction on the issue. So I got to work on it. I made some phone calls. I, you know, called the parties that I need to call. I think within, you know, a week or so, we had the issue completely resolved. We, you know, were able to put all the utility stuff on the outside. You know, underneath there was just a flat box, so now he could just drive over it to get into his driveway. And this constituent was ecstatic that we were able to get this done. I mean, I seriously, at least once a week for, you know, the following month, he was calling saying, you know, how grateful it was, how grateful he was, how appreciative he was. He sent pictures of his driveway, you know, of his car driving over the new the box and everything. And he was excited. And, you know, for me, while yeah, it took a week to get it done, in the grand scheme of things, you know, throughout that week, it might have taken me, you know, 2 or 3 hours, you know, with the phone calls and, you know, the meetings that I had to do to get it done. But just really seeing the impact that, you know, just picking up the phone and making a few calls and helping somebody out, the impact that had on that constituent, I mean, it makes you really see that your work is doing something. So that whole problem solving aspect is really what appealed to me. And then when I started getting into, you know, working for other offices, working for the Congressman, working for Yankee Communications, doing the private sector, you know, government relations. Again, it was all that type of problem solving issues that were in front of me. And then kind of law just kind of fit in there. You know, when I was working for Jimmy at Yankee Communications, you know, again, I started to see a little bit more of the complex issues, you know, that were going on behind the scenes. When I worked for the Congressman, we were getting the simple pitch. When you work for a congressman, the pitches are usually, you know, quick 15-minute meetings. You don't really have time to get into the details of it. However, you know, like I said, when I got to the private sector, I was, you know, really put in the heavy stuff. And there was a lot of times where we had to go out and get attorneys and do this and do that. And I said, well, you know, I've got all the political stuff over here. The only thing I'm lacking now is the, you know, legal understanding. So I'm the type of person that likes to know everything. So I said, well, how do I solve this problem? I can go to law school and figure that part out. And now I can solve all the problems, or at least I'd like to think so.
That's great. And I'm going to encourage the students who are here to ask them questions. Don't be shy. Ask Alex anything. Ask him who his favorite professor was. Well, we kind of know who that is, right, Alex?
Yeah, Dr. Crable, right?
Yeah. Anyway, so students, I want you guys to jump on and ask a question, send something to Mary. But okay, so let's move on. I think we were talking a little bit about the first internship. How did you get it? Tell us about getting that internship.
So super embarrassing. I binge watched Parks and Recreation one summer. I can't remember. Maybe we were up to season 4 or season 5 at that point. But I just did nothing the entire summer, or for that first couple of weeks of the summer, and watched all of Parks and Rec. And I got to thinking, I could be an intern for the Parks and Rec department. I could do this, I can do that, thinking that I'm going to go work for Ron Swanson, have Tom Haverford as my colleague. So I went down to the Parks and Rec department. I think when it was still off of Golden State, walked in, asked for an internship, and they said, nope, we don't really do that. So I said, okay. They said, go to city council office, go to the city council's office and, see if they have internships. So that's what I did. I went to the city council's office, asked if they had internships, and, they said the same thing. They said, no, we don't really do internships. We know that, the county supervisors sometimes do. I had no idea what a county supervisor was. So they gave me the address, and it was the administrative building down on Truxton. I went there, went to the 5th floor, and talked to the ladies at the front desk there, and they said, yep, the supervisors, are all around this half circle, go talk to them. And so the first office I went to was Supervisor Perez's office. Went, knocked on her door. They told me that they weren't accepting interns at the time. So one of the questions she asked me is like, oh, are you one of our constituents? And I said, I don't know. And she goes, well, it might be a good thing to find out. And so, after that, I left her office, and I, Googled real quick on my phone who my supervisor was, and it was Mike Maggard. So I skipped the other doors, went straight to Supervisor Maggard's office, and I talked to the administrative assistant at the time, and I asked, are you guys offering any internships? And she goes, I honestly have no idea, but our chief of staff is here. Let me go ask him. So she goes to the office in the back, and the chief of staff comes out, and he goes, you're looking for an internship? I go, absolutely. He goes, do you have time now for an interview? I go, 100%. So we go back to his office. We had maybe, a 15-20 minute interview, talk about, why I want to do this, what my qualifications were. And at the time they were, none. I was working at Abercrombie and Fitch at the mall, and I was taking some political science classes at BC. But they needed help. They needed someone for free, and I was that guy. So after my meeting with the chief of staff, he shot me a text and said, hey, can you come in tomorrow to meet with Mike? And I was like, absolutely, 100%. So I went in the next day. I sat down with Supervisor Maggard. We pretty much just talked a bunch about high school sports and just got to know each other to see if we'd be a good fit. He's like, all right, cool, you're good to go. Come in tomorrow and be ready to work. And that's pretty much how that went. It was really just a matter of asking. Jeff, who was the chief of staff, is one of my biggest mentors now. And he still tells me, he goes, we just never had someone to really come up and ask us for an internship. And then, just someone who's willing to actually work. I think that's, it sounds, again, I sound like one of the old men when I say that, like, oh, kids don't work these days. But no, it was one of those things, just, being willing to go in there. And yeah, I wasn't getting paid. I still had to keep my Abercrombie and Fitch job. And I was making like $150 every 2 weeks, but that was enough to get, gas and lunch before I would go to Mike's office and then go over to the mall to work. So. Okay.
Well, we have a question, and then we're going to go to your second favorite professor, Janine Crable, Dr. Crable. So the first question, what drove you to leave?
It's a good thing I like you, Dr. Martinez.
I think, you know what? Why don't we go straight to Dr. Crable before I get in trouble? Okay.
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Good, Dr. Crable. How are you?
Good. It's nice to have you with us, and thank you so very much, and congratulations on this honor. I know this is not going to surprise you, but I have 3 questions for you. But you don't have to answer all 3 since you're no longer my student. But I will. There's the first one to me is the most important, and I have a suspicion, knowing your heart for community, that it's just as important to you. I would like for you to speak about your love for Kern County and why, even though you went away to law school, nearly almost on the other side of the country, why did you return back to Kern County, with now all of this professional expertise and education? Why did you find it important as an alumni of the area to return back to give to your community here in Kern County? And why might that be important for the students on the Zoom call to consider as well?
Absolutely. Great question. I was born and raised here in Kern County. My parents met in high school. They had me, in high school. And, we lived in Wasco for a few years. I still have a lot of family in Wasco. I grew up in Bakersfield my entire life. For me, it's just home. Kern County is just home. Seeing the opportunity that it was able to provide, my parents who had me in high school, who, just have high school diplomas, but now, they're well settled in the middle class, have a nice house in Rosedale. Bakersfield provided my family the opportunity to grow, to climb. And, I've seen that for myself. I've seen the investment that our community puts into its own, whether that's, at BC, at CSUB, everyone is very invested in each other in this community. And I just love that about it. There have been opportunities to go to bigger cities, to Sacramento, to Los Angeles, even to Houston. But again, Bakersfield is a small town feel, but really we're growing into, one of the bigger cities in California, and we're leading on issues of agriculture, of water, even our homelessness right now. Some of the stuff that the Bakersfield Kern Regional Homeless Collaborative is doing is leading the way in the state. And again, so I just saw all the investment that was going on in Kern County, and all the investment that so many, again, like I mentioned before, we're putting in me. Probably for the BC part, that was more of me not knowing what I wanted to do. But again, it was me not knowing what I wanted to do, and then seeing how, again, BC provided so much opportunity to me that again, just really, again, just reinforced how much this community did support me. And then again, same experience at CSUB. And so, law school wasn't really even on my radar. I didn't consider it. I said, okay, I've got this bachelor's degree. I've been involved in politics here locally. I'll just go off and, continue working for some electeds and, see what happens down the road. But then, I had to take a step back and say, okay, well, is that the best way that I can kind of give back? What are the ways that I can, kind of pay back this investment that everyone has put in me? I said, okay, well, if it means me leaving for a couple of years to get an affordable law degree and come back here and again try and pay back that investment, then I'm going to do that. And so that's the way that I see it. I don't discourage folks from leaving and getting experiences elsewhere. I think those other experiences are valuable. Me going to Ole Miss and coming back here has really given me a different worldview. I'm a Hispanic, but over there in Ole Miss, it's 48% African American, 48% white, and 2 or 3% other. And so even for me, just being a Latino in that environment was very interesting. And again, just different worldviews. I remember he's my roommate now. He hates this story. One of the first things that he asked me was, hey, if we went over to your mom's house for dinner, what would we have for dinner? And I go, what do you mean, what would we have for dinner? And he goes, would it be like enchiladas or tacos or this and that? And like, it sounds like offensive. And at first I was just like, oh, hold on, buddy, like you need to watch yourself. But it really was just because there's just so little exposure And so that was, it really became an ongoing conversation that I had not only with, my friend group, but also with the university and the law school of, hey, there is this population here in Mississippi. How do we, explore it and things like that. So, and now coming back home and, Latinos and Hispanics are, a minority majority. So it's, it was good to get that experience elsewhere that, that we, again, might take for granted here. I don't know if that answers your question. I know that was kind
It does. I could just see Dr. Martinez and we're both talkers, so we're jockeying to see who's going to open up their mouth back first.
I was going to take a question from the chat room here. So what drove you to leave
Alex.
Absolutely.
So what drove you to leave Bakersfield for law school? And you've kind of addressed the second part of this, what brought you back, but what drove you to leave Bakersfield for law school, and especially Mississippi?
100% money. When people talk to me about law school originally, they said you'd be a great candidate for law school. You do this, you do that. Which was all very flattering. But when I went to go look at the price of law school, it just was not feasible for me or for my family. I knew that I couldn't afford it. Even if I got a scholarship to go to UCLA or to go to anywhere else, living in LA, living in the Bay, again, just wouldn't have been feasible. I would have left law school with a 200 plus, student debt, and really been tied to the job. If I wanted to, take time off, or if I want to do this or do that, there's really no option to do that. You are tied to that student loan debt. And so it was when Dr. Wallace actually approached me. He said, hey, yeah, I've got this guy from Ole Miss coming out, Ole Miss Law coming out. I just want you to meet with him. And at that point, I was already pretty much convinced, hey, I can't afford law school. Like, I'm not going to tease myself with, this whole process. And I was like, hey, I appreciate it, but I don't think that's the route I'm going to go. And he goes, no, you're going to meet with him. Like, you're going to meet with him. And so that's pretty much how it went. I met with Professor Jason Derrick, who's from Ole Miss. He came out to Bakersfield at CSUB. We sat there, we talked for maybe about 30 minutes, and we ran through everything. And he pretty much told me, if you can get, X score on the LSAT, I can guarantee you that you're only going to pay, up to $10,000 per year for law school, which was like just mind blowing to me. And then when I, looked at the price of living in Mississippi, I was like, gosh, I can actually do this. I can actually afford to go to law school. This is obtainable now. And then when I actually, so that's what pushed me to apply and to do that whole process. And then when I actually got the scholarship, I think it was actually only $8,000 for law school per year. So, I mean, that compared to the California, what it would have cost me to go here is really what pushed me to go. It was again, that opportunity and mentorship along the way, kind of, sometimes forcefully pushing you to do stuff that may be uncomfortable.
Okay. All right. Looks like we have a question from, looks like a student, Gavin Dingle. If you want to unmute yourself.
Hi, yes. So I was wondering, what would be your biggest piece of advice for a student trying to get into law school?
Get used to reading and writing a lot now. But no, like in regards to actual preparation, definitely start looking over LSAT materials, things like that. That test, while people are going to tell you that test is, determinative on how well you do in law school, I really haven't found that to be the case. I know people who didn't do great on the LSAT who ended up being great in law school and then great attorneys, and and vice versa. I've seen students who did great on the LSAT but then come to law school and they just can't handle it. But nonetheless, that's kind of the hand that we're dealt. Law schools are still relying on that LSAT score. So try and get your hands on any LSAT materials that you can. I self-studied and was able to get a score that Ole Miss was happy with, so that's okay. If you have a school in mind, if you know that you want to target some of the bigger schools like UCLA, like USC, stuff like that, Berkeley, I would recommend, if you could afford it, taking an LSAT class. I know for the bar exam, I took a class, and that really changed the way that I studied for the exam and then actually took the exam. And I can only imagine if I would have taken an LSAT class like that bar class, that I would have been much more prepared for that LSAT. But nonetheless, start looking at the LSAT, start getting familiar with those materials, those questions that are on there, answer as many questions as you can, prepare as much as you can. And then also, start padding your resume now. If law school is something that that you're going to be interested in, law schools have plenty of students who have good LSAT scores, have good GPAs. What they also want to see is, are you involved in the community? Are you involved on campus? Because that's what's going to make you stand out from the other applicants. The law school wants to know, okay, hey, Gavin was really involved at CSUB. He was involved with ASI. He was involved with athletics, involved with something. We know when he comes here to Ole Miss, he's going to be an active student. He's going to be involved in our programs and potentially a leader here on campus. And again, I think those are the things that really help you stand out once you actually get to that application stage.
Okay, I think we're kind of running up against the time constraint. There's a couple of questions. I'll let you choose between these two questions. Where do you see yourself in 10 years is one question. And the other question is, what career mistakes have you made that taught you the best lesson? So I'll leave it up to you which one you want to answer. Mistakes that have taught you lessons, or where do you see yourself in 10 years?
Yeah, I guess the one about me isn't too helpful to all the students on here. The one about mistakes, probably the biggest one that I had is when I was younger and I was a young professional, I was, working for a congressman. People would come to me and they'd say, hey, come get involved with this organization, come sit on this board for us, help us out with this project. And at the time, I was a young 19, 20-year-old. I was super excited that people were, asking me to be involved with stuff. And I didn't know how to say no to anything. I just said yes to everything. And what happened was I started to stretch myself, really thin. But at the same time, my participation on those boards wasn't 100%. I wasn't giving, my 100% to all those projects and everything else that I was contributing to. So I think that that's probably the biggest thing that I've learned now. Now that I'm back in the community, it's been a year and I've kind of just let myself focus on work. But now that I'm starting to get back involved, I'm really trying to limit myself to the projects that I want to get involved with, the boards that I want to sit on. So that way I can really dedicate my time to those activities. So that's really what I would just say is, I know I mentioned to Gavin that, get involved in the community and this and that, but really pick and choose what you're involved with. Make sure it's something that you're passionate about. So that way you're really putting your heart into it. And that's what's really going to make a difference. And that's what's really going to help your reputation in the community. If you're on 5 or 6 different boards, yeah, it looks good, but your actual time on the board with all those other board members, they're going to look at you and say, hey, what the heck is Alex actually doing here? Is he contributing to his fullest? Is he doing, everything else that all these other board members who may be a little bit more dedicated to the cause are? So I would say that's probably the biggest thing that I would say to the students.
Okay, we have a question from a student. We've got a couple more minutes, or maybe 1 or 2 minutes. It's how and when did you start the process? No, excuse me. Let me move up to this. Okay, what made you go into agriculture or water law specifically?
So when I worked for Congressman Valledale, I was in charge of pretty much everything going on here in Kern County. Excuse me. And I was, going to all the events here with the Farm Bureau, doing all the constituent meetings and so on. And a lot of the constituent meetings that I was dealing with were all water and agriculture related. While Wonderful is based down in Santa Monica, Los Angeles area, a lot of its operations here are in Kern County. So again, a lot of those meetings just exposed me to all of those issues. And again, I think it's really because I was involved, in politics so much, both at the local, state, and federal level. I just saw the power of agriculture and water and really what it did for our community. And so I think that's just one of the biggest things. During that time, I saw a lot of farmers, a lot of landowners kind of struggling with California regulation, with federal regulation. And so that's kind of what pushed me to to go into that area of law. Again, getting back to the, how do I invest back? I could have been just a regular lawyer, which nothing is wrong with being a general practice attorney. I don't mean to knock that, but having that specialty allowed me to really invest my time in one specific area to say, okay, I'm going to, invest in water and agricultural issues to help out this specific, area of the community. Again, just kind of tailoring what I already knew to what I could do.
Okay, so it looks like I got a note that says we have maybe time for another question. This one's from Eric Mejia. What was the most challenging aspect of working in the office of Congressman David Valledale?
I think it would have to be party politics. However that sounds, Congressman Valledale was and still is in my opinion, a moderate Republican. He was in a district that was up by several points, a blue district by all means, but nonetheless he was Republican that held that seat. So there were a lot of party politics issues that we kind of had to play with. But at the end of the day, working for David really showed me that you don't necessarily have to play those party politic games when your number one concern is the constituents in the district. So while on my end, I was sitting in the background just being like, oh, how are we going to do this? David would always be, that leader in the room to say, hey, listen, yeah, the party says, this way, but look what our constituents need. Look what's the issues to the constituents here. And so it was really a good lesson for me to learn and at least in that respect.
Okay, and I think we'll probably end with this one before we hand it over to the Dean Rodriguez. What's the worst piece of career advice that you've actually received?
I think early on, when I was, just trying to figure things out, I think, a lot of people just tried to tell me that, hey, this is the pathway that you have to take. Whether it was to be a lawyer, whether, when I was younger, I wanted to run for office, everyone said, this is the way that you have to do it. This is the way it's always been done. If you want to be an attorney, you have to go through this route. Everyone said when I went to Ole Miss that, oh, well, don't plan on coming back to California to practice law. It's going to be so much harder. You're not going to pass the bar on the first time. And, it was just a lot of, that. And I think that really, what's comfortable for yourself, what you're capable of, and what your limits are. And I think that that's something that I really had to, internalize myself. I'll have to admit, early on, that's the way that I view things. Well, these people are so successful. I have to listen to them and do it exactly how they tell me. But really, as I, became more confident in myself, became more aware of what I was, able to do and what I'm not able to do, just helped me kind of, pave my own path. And now, again, I passed the bar on the first time. I'm back in California. I'm involved in the community still. Again, so, there's going to be plenty of people who come up to you and tell you that this is the way that it has to be. But again, you know what you're capable of, what you can do. So go out there and do it.
All right, great. And last question is when are we going to go golfing? You know where I live.
Yeah, I think we can social distance different carts, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, I'll send you a note. All right, we'll pass this on to Dean Rodriguez and we'll go from there. Okay, Dean Rodriguez.
Well, please let me know when that golf date is on the calendar. What a great Q&A and what a great session altogether. Thank you to Dr. Mark Martinez for moderating, and thank you to Dr. Janine Craybill for making a special appearance. And Alex, most of all, thank you. Thank you for sharing your words of wisdom. Thank you for sharing a part of your story. I know you will continue to share your story. And in fact, I already have plans for you to come back and to share your story with students, faculty, and staff in the School of Social Sciences and Education, so that we can be inspired by your story in our work to rise, to elevate, and to continue to serve this wonderful community in Kern County, Northern Los Angeles County, and beyond. So Thank you again, Alex, and congratulations one more time. I'm going to pass it back to Sarah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dean Rodriguez. And yes, congratulations again to you, Alex. Thank you so much for being here. I remember when a group of us traveled to Washington, D.C. years ago on doing advocacy efforts, and you were the ASI president, and you just represented the students so well. You did a great job. And so I'm not surprised to see you here today. And I look forward to following your career at Klein D. Natale. We have so many great friends there at that law firm, some Hall of Famers. So congratulations again to you. And thank you everyone for being here today. I want to say a special thank you again to Dean Rodriguez, to Dr. Martinez and Dr. Craybill for helping behind the scenes, also to our AVP for Student Success, Elaria Pesco. I also want to say a thank you to those behind the scenes on our events and alumni teams, Ellie, Mary, Christine, and Erica. Thank you so much. And in our IT department, Mike Bohan, keeping things going behind the scenes. I also want to say, give another shout out to President Zalesny. Thank you so much for being here today. And for other members of our President's Cabinet who have been here all week, we really appreciate it. That's our Chief of Staff, Michael Lukens, a Vice President for University Advancement, Victor Martin, and a special thank you to our Vice President for Student Affairs, Dr. Thomas Wallace. This program he presented to us 7 years ago, and look how it's grown. It's so exciting to see how things have flourished. Just a reminder, our men's basketball team plays CSU Northridge tonight and tomorrow at 7 o'clock. So tune in to cheer them on. Students can view the event on Zoom, and faculty and staff can watch on ESPN. Students, if you need the Zoom link, just go to csub.edu/homecoming and scroll down to today's date. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow to tomorrow's game as we celebrate the homecoming royalty winners. That's going to be a lot of fun. Students can participate in a Zoom watch party for that. So again, visit the homecoming site for more details. Thank you again so much, everyone, for being here, and I hope you have a great weekend. Bye.